Welcome to Ananya Child Development Center podcast, where we tackle important topics in autism intervention. I am Jule, and today we are discussing something that's generating a lot of buzz: stem cell therapy for autism. With us is Madhavi ma'am, founder of Ananya, who has guided countless families through treatment decisions. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, Jewel. This topic is particularly close to my heart because just recently I met a mother who remortgaged or took a loan on her house again to fund her child's stem cell therapy.
That sounds serious. What happened?
She showed me a WhatsApp forward about a child who supposedly started speaking after stem cell therapy. The video was compelling, a nonverbal child suddenly talking in full sentences. But when we dug deeper, we discovered something very different.
What did you find?
The video was heavily edited. It showed clips from before the treatment and then jumped to 2 years later. What it didn't show was that the child had been receiving intensive speech therapy during those 2 years. This is what concerns me most. Not just the misleading marketing, but how it preys on parents' deepest hopes.
I imagine many parents watching such videos might think, what if this could be my child?
Exactly, Joel. And that's completely natural. Every parent who walks through our doors wants the best for their child. But let me share something that happened last month that really illustrates why we need to be careful.
Please tell us about it.
A family came to us after spending 15 lakhs on stem cell therapy. The father had taken a loan against his provident fund. The mother had sold her jewelry. They were told their son would start speaking within 3 months. But here's what the clinic didn't tell them: there's no scientific evidence supporting these claims.
That must have been devastating for them. What happened next?
Well, this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. When they came to us feeling defeated and broke, we did a comprehensive assessment. We discovered their son had incredible visual learning abilities that no one had tapped into before.
How did that help?
Instead of focusing on verbal speech immediately, we introduced him to visual communication methods. Within 2 weeks, just 2 weeks, he was using picture cards to communicate his basic needs. His frustration levels dropped dramatically. His mother called me crying, but this time there were tears of joy because he would finally tell her when he was hungry or tired.
That's amazing. But some parents might wonder, isn't stem cell therapy more advanced than using picture cards?
You know what? Let me explain what stem cell therapy actually is. Because there's a lot of confusion about this. Imagine you are trying to fix a complex computer network problem. Would adding more computers randomly help? Or do you need to understand exactly what's causing the communication breakdown?
That's an interesting analogy.
Autism isn't simply about adding or replacing cells in the brain, it's about complex neural connections, sensory processing, and individual differences. When clinics claim they can fix autism with stem cells, they are oversimplifying some incredibly complex processes.
I recently heard about a clinic promising guaranteed results within 6 months. What are your thoughts on that?
Just last week, a mother showed me their brochure. It promised her child would start speaking within 6 months or she would get her money back. Sounds appealing, right? But here's what happened with another family who fell for a similar promise.
What was their experience?
They spent 20 lakhs on the treatment. When their child didn't show the promised improvements, the clinic blamed it on the parents for not following some vague post procedure protocols. The family not only lost their savings but also lost 6 crucial months of early intervention time.
That's heartbreaking. But what would you say to parents who think, what if I don't try it and miss out on something that could help my child?
I understand that fear completely. Let me share something powerful that happened at our center just 2 months ago. A father asked me the same question. Instead of just telling him not to do stem cell therapy, I showed him our 6 months intervention data.
What did the data show?
We tracked 200 children who received evidence based interventions. Now, instead of giving you numbers, let me tell you about Arjun, a 5-year-old who came to us completely nonverbal. His parents were considering stem cell therapy, but they decided to try our program first. Within 6 months, using a combination of speech therapy, occupational therapy, and structured teaching, he wasn't just communicating, he was connecting.
Can you describe what you mean by connecting?
Of course. Before intervention, Arjun would walk past his little sister like she didn't exist. Now he taps her shoulder to share his toys. He uses his communication board to tell his mother when he wants a paratha for breakfast. Last week, he even helped his grandmother set the dinner table, something that seemed impossible 6 months ago.
Those sound like real practical improvements that make a difference in a daily life.
Exactly. And here's what parents often don't realize. These changes happened because we worked with Arjun's natural development, not by trying to force a medical solution. You know what his mother told me yesterday?
What did she say?
She said, "Thank God we didn't spend those 15 lakhs on stem cell therapy. Instead, we invested in speech therapy, occupational therapy, and parent training. Now I know how to help my child every single day, not just hope for a miracle."
Speaking of costs, I have noticed stem cell clinics often pressure parents to decide quickly, saying the earlier the treatment, the better.
Yes, this urgency tactic really concerns me. Just last month, a clinic told a parent they needed to decide within 48 hours to get their special discount. But let me share something interesting about early intervention that these clinics don't tell you.
And what's that?
Real early intervention isn't about one dramatic treatment, it's about consistent daily interactions. Let me tell you about Priya, a 3-year-old who came to us recently. Her parents were ready to sell their property for some. Her parents were ready to take a loan for stem cell therapy, but instead they tried our parent mediated intervention program first.
What happened with Priya?
Priya's story is fascinating. Instead of spending those 20 lakhs on stem cell therapy, her parents learned how to turn everyday moments into opportunities for growth. Her mother learned to wait, just wait, for 10 seconds after asking a question, something so simple yet so powerful.
How did that help?
The first time her mother waited those 10 seconds, Priya looked up at her. The second time, she pointed. By the end of the month, she was using gestures consistently. No invasive procedures, no huge expenses, just parents understanding how to connect with their child. That's real early intervention.
But some parents might worry that these smaller steps aren't enough.
You know what? Let me share something that happened in our parent support group last week. A mother who had previously done stem cell therapy spoke up. She said she wished someone had told her that progress isn't about dramatic transformations, it's about those small daily victories that add up.
What kind of victories are we talking about?
Think about this when your child first makes eye contact while singing their favorite song. That's a victory. When they tolerate wearing new clothes because you understood their sensory needs. That's victory. When they use a picture to ask for water instead of crying. That's a huge victory. These are the building blocks of real lasting development.
I notice you emphasize lasting development.
Yes, because that's crucial. Last year, we had a family who came to us after trying various experimental treatments. They had spent nearly 30 lakhs, but their child still struggled with basic daily activities. We started with something simple, teaching their child to communicate yes and no consistently. The mother called me after a week. Her son had, for the first time, clearly indicated he didn't want to eat something by shaking his head. She said, "Ma'am, all these years, all that money spent, and no one taught us how to help our child to say no. Sometimes the simplest things make the biggest difference."
That's powerful. But I know some parents watching those stem cell therapy videos might still feel tempted.
Let me share something about those videos that most people don't realize. We analyzed 20 viral stem cell therapy videos with our team. In every single case, the children were also receiving other therapies speech, occupational, and behavioral therapies. But guess what? Who got the credit for their progress?
Only the stem cell therapy?
Exactly. It's like giving a child tuition, sending them to a good school, having parents help with homework, and then crediting only the tuitions for their improved grades. Progress in autism never comes from a single intervention, it's always multifaceted.
What would you say to parents who are feeling desperate, who might be thinking about selling property or taking loans for stem cell therapy?
I'd say what I told a father just recently. He was about to sell his wife's ancestral jewelry for stem cell therapy. I asked him to try something first. For 1 month, just 1 month, invest time instead of money. Learn to wait for your child's responses. Document small changes. Understand their sensory needs. The transformation in their relationship was remarkable.
How so?
Within weeks, he started seeing his child's Within weeks, he started seeing his child differently. Instead of focusing on what his child could not do, he began noticing what his child can try to tell him. That shift in perspective is more valuable than any expensive treatment.
That's beautiful. Before we wrap up, what concrete steps would you suggest for parents listening right now, especially those considering stem cell therapy?
You know, just this morning, a mother asked me the same question. I told her something I want every parent to hear. Before making any major treatment decisions, take 2 weeks. In those 2 weeks, observe your child during everyday moments mealtime, bedtime, playtime. Write down what they can do, what they are trying to do, and what makes them happy, what upsets them.
Why is this observation period so important?
Because understanding your child's current abilities is crucial. Last week, a father came to us thinking his child had no communication at all, but when we helped him observe carefully, he realized his son was actually communicating through gestures, body language, even the way he arranged his toys. This understanding completely changed their intervention approach.
And what about parents who have already tried stem cell therapy?
I want these parents to know something very important. You made that decision out of love. Now let's focus on what we know works. Just last month, we worked with a family who had done stem cell therapy twice. When they started our evidence based program, the mother told me something I'll never forget.
What was that?
She said, for the first time, I feel like I'm not just waiting for my child to change. I'm learning to understand and connect with my child as they are. That's what real intervention looks like.
That's incredible. Thank you, Madhavi ma'am. And for our listeners who want to learn more, we have something special to offer today.
Yes, we understand these decisions are difficult. That's why we are offering a 25% discount on a comprehensive assessment package for podcast listeners. This assessment isn't just about identifying challenges, it's about understanding your child's unique strengths and creating a practical, evidence based plan forward.
How can parents avail this offer?
Just mention this podcast when you call our number 9848513192. We have centers in Madhapur, Banjara Hills, Kokapet, Alkapur, and Nalagandla. Even though we are usually quite busy, we'll ensure podcast listeners get an appointment within 2 weeks.
Any final words for our listeners?
Yes, your child's journey is unique. Don't let anyone pressure you into decisions with fancy promises. Real progress happens through understanding, connection, and evidence based approaches. We are here to support you every step of the way.
Thank you for these invaluable insights. Do join us next week when we bring something valuable for you from the world of autism intervention. Until then, stay informed and hopeful.